Hola amigos, ¿qué tal? Joe here from Spain Speaks with an update on the current situation here in Spain, day 260 of the current situation, and all of the talk around the country at the moment is how we are going to balance the upcoming Christmas season with the delicate health situation we have in the country and whether Spain will be able to avoid a third wave of the coronavirus. Firstly, a big thanks to all of the people that left comments on the last video. Lots of comments, lots of debate happening there as usual. Thanks to people that supported the channel with a donation. You can see your names here. Thanks to people that bought merchandise, and a big thanks to my patrons on Patreon for your support. Now, as I said, everybody is talking about the upcoming Christmas season here in Spain and whether it's going to be compatible with the health situation that we have. We can see here that the Prime Minister, Pedro Sánchez, has warned of a critical stage and is asking people to put health precautions first at Christmas due to the pandemic. Sánchez has asked to give security this Christmas to be able to continue altogether tomorrow. The Prime Minister has assured this Saturday that we are approaching a third and definitive stage to overcome the pandemic, and he has asked to give security this Christmas to those we want to fight the coronavirus and be able to continue all together tomorrow. It is much more important to celebrate 2021 and Christmas for the next few years than these holidays, he stated, during an intervention to present the plan The Spain We Deserve 2021 to 2026, where he explained some of the aspects of the European budget project, which will inject 72 billion euros into the Spanish economy over the next 3 years. So the Prime Minister there asking people to give the gift of security this Christmas so that we can continue all together into the future. Now, as I mentioned before, it's going to be difficult this year to balance the Christmas season with the pandemic. We all saw what happened at the beginning of summer when people lowered their guard and the government told us that we needed to save the summer, and we're currently in the situation that we're in. We can see here in this article that nobody is currently thinking about saving Christmas anymore. With some discrepancies in the flexibility of the measures, both the government and communities want contained Christmas parties, but without preventing families from getting together. The idea of saving the summer economically not only cost health, but it also cost money in the form of more restrictions for a longer time. From that point of view, Raymond Torres, Director of Situation and International Analysis of FUNCAS, believes that it is best to maintain restrictions at least till the end of the year until the infections drop to reasonable levels. Surely this has a negative impact on the economy, but much less than an early opening that would inevitably force it to close in January with much more damaging consequences on consumption, mobility and activity. From a strictly economic angle, he believes that mobility limitations between autonomous communities should continue. So there we go. We tried to save summer, but we couldn't. It led to more restrictions, the restrictions that we currently have in place. So is it worth it to try to save the Christmas period and then go into further lockdowns possibly in January and risk the consequences of a third wave of this coronavirus? And as we saw there, one expert believing that mobility restrictions should be kept in place over the Christmas period. Now, the city of Madrid recently turned on their Christmas lights, and it coincided this weekend with the Black Friday sales in the capital city. You would think that a lot of people would be sensible and stay at home, not go into the city centre because of the pandemic. However, yesterday there were agglomerations in Madrid after the Christmas lights were turned on. This, of course, has outraged health workers who have said be careful because we can experience a third wave soon. While Spain is mired in the middle of a second wave of the coronavirus pandemic, being the sixth country in the world most affected by the health crisis of COVID-19, thousands of people have taken to the streets of central Madrid this Saturday to see the Christmas lighting. These images have concerned and outraged health professionals who have been working tirelessly since March. They scare me because I think we are relaxing, and it reminds me of when, after the first wave, we thought we had defeated the virus, said Juan Torres, head of the internal medicine service at the Infante Leonor Hospital. He pleaded with people because a third wave is possible, and it depends on how we behave. Another doctor, also outraged by the images that he saw, said be careful with this because we can experience a third wave soon. Now we'll take a look at one of these images that has led to this outrage, and you can see just how many people were on Madrid's Gran Via last night. So there we go. With crowds like that, it's no wonder that many people are expecting a third wave soon in this country. Now let's have a look at the current health situation by looking at a map of the country and various autonomous communities. We'll start with a map of Spain, and we can see that the risk level has been lowered to high. We can see the accumulated incidence rate in the last 14 days sits at 307.3. There have been 1,177 deaths in the last 7 days, and hospital pressure now, we can see that there are currently 14,819 COVID patients in hospitals around the country, and there are 2,777 COVID patients hospitalized around the country. We'll look now at some of the hotspots, starting with Asturias. We can see that the risk level is extreme. We can see that the accumulated incidence rate in Asturias over the last 14 days is 494.62. There have been 154 deaths in the last 7 days. There are 849 COVID patients in hospitals in Asturias, and there are 136 COVID patients in ICUs, which is close to 40% of all ICUs in that region. Castilla y León now, we can see that the risk level is extreme still. The accumulated incidence rate in the last 14 days, just over 500 at 501.26. 152 deaths in the last 7 days in Castilla y León. There are 1,301 patients currently hospitalized with COVID, and there are 219 COVID patients in ICUs, which is just over 39% of all ICUs in that autonomous community. And if we look here at the other end of the scale, we can see the Canary Islands where the risk level is low. The accumulated incidence rate in the last 14 days is 77.46. Deaths in the last 7 days, 17. 219 COVID patients currently hospitalized in the Canary Islands, and there are 43 COVID patients in ICUs, which is just under 10% of all ICUs in that autonomous community. Now, the city of Burgos in the north of Spain has been one of the hardest hit cities during this second wave of the pandemic. There are a series of restrictions in place in that city in order to get the virus under control, but one particular sector has had enough of the restrictions, and they are pleading with the government to allow them to do business. We can see here that more than 100 bars and restaurants in Burgos opened this Saturday in protest of the restrictions. More than 100 bars and restaurants have opened their establishments at 12:30 p.m. and have turned on the lights to remember their presence, although without sale to the public so as not to breach the restrictions. So a peaceful protest there from bar and restaurant owners in Burgos who are at the end of their tether. They say that they can't go on for much longer with their premises closed, but the government there seems to think that this is the only way that they can get the virus under control in that particular part of Spain. Now, some good news for all of the royalists out there, and it is that the King of Spain has tested negative to a COVID test. However, he will remain in preventative quarantine until he serves the full 10 days of the quarantine, which started last Monday. So a bit of a scare there for the royal family after one of his inner circle tested positive, and therefore sending the king into a 10-day quarantine. Now let's have a look at some of the comments from recent videos. First one here from Richard. Don't spread the word about how great Valencia is to live in or visit. It's been a secret gem up to now. Thanks for your information. Yeah, Richard, thanks for the comment, but unfortunately the cat has been let out of the bag as far as Valencia is concerned. We saw the other day that it was named the best city in the world to live in by expats, and there were 4 Spanish cities in the top 10, Alicante, Malaga and Madrid. 3 of those cities, of course, being on the Mediterranean down there. So people obviously looking for that Mediterranean lifestyle. And I must say that I have had a lot of comments over the years from people asking me about Valencia, what the city is like, whether it is an attractive city to live in, because obviously, as I said, people are looking to get that Mediterranean lifestyle, live down there on the coast, and Valencia is a city that looks very, very attractive. So unfortunately there, Richard, people have discovered that secret gem. One here from John. Youth unemployment over 40%, debt 120% of GDP, GDP growth minus 11%. This government is incompetent and must resign pronto. Spain needs a big debt haircut and leave the euro. Otherwise, millions more young people will leave the country to find a job elsewhere. Yeah, John, thanks for pointing those depressing figures about the economy out. I was having a good day up until I read that comment. High unemployment, huge debt, terrible growth forecast for this year, and things are not looking good. But I don't think the government is going to resign. I don't think any government has resigned in this country as far as I know. They keep on going. It doesn't matter what the economic situation is like. It doesn't matter what the situation of the country is like. No government will resign. In fact, the other day, one of the vice presidents of the government, there's a few of them, Pablo Iglesias, said that he predicts that the government will be around for a long long time. So as you can see, they're not planning on going anywhere. One here from Terry: I have just laughed thinking of you sat amongst all the teenagers trying to pass your driving test again. I got a vision from Elf the movie, LOL. Yeah, Terry, thanks for the comment. Glad to see that my driving school story gave you a bit of a chuckle. I must say that that was one of the worst experiences that I have had in the 22 years that I've been living in the country. I can look back on it now and have a bit of a laugh, but it was no laughing matter at the time. But all I can say is that I'm glad that I got it out of the way and I don't have to go through that experience ever again. One here from D. Sue: my Spanish friend's teenage son did the driving test in Malaga, which is reputedly the hardest city in Spain to drive in due to complex roundabouts and very heavy traffic in the city. I know driving my right-hand side car and sometimes my friend's left-hand drive cars for years in Malaga, it was a nightmare city to drive in. One friend of mine bought a car and 2 hours later was very badly T-boned in Malaga city centre and the car was a write-off. Yeah, Disu, thanks for the comment, but don't get me started on roundabouts. They are an absolute nightmare in this country. People don't learn how to drive through roundabouts. Nobody knows. There's no rules. Very, very confusing. Indicators don't exist when it comes to roundabouts, and you'd be surprised how many people don't even look to their left when they enter a roundabout in this country. And I'm sure that your friend is not the only person to have been T-boned in a roundabout here in Spain. And again, if you've seen people exit roundabouts in this country, you'll know why people get T-boned. But as I mentioned the other day, the key to driving in this country is to be constantly looking in your rear vision mirrors, making sure that you're checking all 3 rear vision mirrors constantly, and that I have found is the best way to avoid collisions. And I'm not sure whether Malaga is the most difficult city to drive in here in Spain. I personally think that Madrid would win that competition hands down, but hey, I'll open it up for debate. One here from Fernando: these videos are very good. However, if you add a short period of time to mention key sports news such as Real Madrid defeating Inter and a section about the next day's weather forecast, you will have the most triumphant expat YouTube channel. Yeah, Fernando, thanks for the comment. I am striving to get the most successful expat YouTube channel around, so here we go. Real Madrid yesterday lost at home to Deportivo Alaves, and Atletico de Madrid beat Valencia away from home. So there you go, a couple of football results. To be honest, I'm not a huge football fan. I don't really follow La Liga, but I do know that it's going to be very, very difficult for Barcelona to win the league this year. One here from Love Dubs: Stuart sucks. Yeah, thanks for that comment. It really made my Sunday. I was sort of trying to weigh up which of your 2 comments was the most insulting, whether that one, Stuart sucks, or this one, I am unsubscribing, you are nuts. So a little bit difficult to know which one hurt my feelings the most, but since you're no longer a subscriber, I don't really care. One here from James: is the demand for your English teaching business declining, or is it unaffected by the restrictions? Yeah, James, thanks for the comment. I think most businesses have been affected this year here in Spain. Doesn't really matter what the sector is. Unless you own a pharmacy or a supermarket, I think business has been affected. When it comes to English language teaching, of course, a lot of places have been affected, especially the neighbourhood language academies, of course, because they were forced to close and they had trouble to move their businesses online. And some parents are still skeptical about sending their kids to after-school activities. So this type of business, I imagine, has been affected quite a bit. I noticed a decline in my business when the pandemic first hit, but things started to improve over the summer months because most of my business is online. So it has recovered a little bit. There's still work out there, but obviously it's not as abundant as it once was. And hopefully 2021 can be a more positive year from a business point of view. And finally, one here from The Good Life: looks like you are near the bottom of the list. Yeah, Good Life, thanks for the comment. Obviously referring to that vaccination list that was published the other day. The government is going to divide the population into 15 different groups, and I think my particular group was close to the bottom, and it looks as though my particular group won't have access until after the summer. But in all honesty, I haven't really given it much thought. On that note, I'll start to wrap the video up. Questions and comments, please leave them in the section below. Debate the situation out as you normally do. Give the video a thumbs up if you liked it, thumbs down if you didn't. I'll see you in the next one. Hasta luego.